Welcome back, Gator Nation, to the Respect Our Decision podcast, episode 35. It is April the 5th, and as always, this is your boy Hirsch, and with me is the hype man, Wes.
Good, Gator Nation.
And CJ, the man McCann.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Gator Nation. A lot of recruiting info to get to today. Around the bases with CJ later in the program. The Florida Gators are still crushing the baseball out of the park at record pace. As always, guys, make sure you go out there and download the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And, guys, hey, if you can, check out the YouTube channel we got for y'all, Respect Our Decision. You can watch the episode there. And while you're there, guys, go ahead, drop a like on the video, hit the notification bell so you get a notification each time we drop content. And make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a great deal. And hey, CJ's going to tell you real quick about a promotion we got going for a giveaway for the month of April. CJ.
Hey, so you guys see this hat that's on my head. If you don't, you're not watching the YouTube channel, and you should be watching the YouTube channel. If you like this hat with the Sunday white Florida baseball program lettering on the front there, it's a golf-style hat from our friends at Alma Mater. They are local Gators. We're going to be doing a giveaway with one of these hats right here. So all you have to do is go over to our YouTube page, subscribe, like, and comment on a video in the month of April, and we're going to enter your name into a drawing at the end of the month, and we're going to give you away one of these free hats right here, and to try to help grow our YouTube channel and try to give back to you guys for supporting us.
Absolutely, guys. We appreciate all of you that have subscribed this week. Numbers are jumping, man. It helps us a tremendous amount, and it helps us to be able to bring y'all more content in the future. And as always, guys, if you'd like to support us as creators, you can check out our Patreon at Respect Our Decision, and always, make a contribution there to become a patron for our show. Guys, before we get going, just want to make sure we remind you, we're partnering with Prize Picks right now. Great time to get out there and sign up for Prize Picks. Make that opening deposit. Use code RESPECT100. Get your deposit matched up to $100. Hey, Masters starting tomorrow. I don't know who you got, but you can go put some dollars down on it, man. NCAA's out, but NBA playoffs coming up. MLB baseball in full swing. No pun intended. And of course, if you're just that diehard football guy, man, the XFL's out there for you. The USFL's about to start up. I don't know who these cats are, but, you can always bet on them if you do. So, guys, go ahead. Make sure you use that promo code RESPECT100. Get $100 matched up on your first deposit. All right, guys. Man, another week, another commitment. We like it. We like it when this happens, man. The snowball is starting to roll down the hill. It's gaining some momentum. And I think it's about to bust the dam open here pretty shortly, but until it does, we're going to talk about the now. And Austin Simmons, 2025 quarterback out of Pahokee, Muck Vic, committed to the Florida Gators this week. A tremendously smart, well-spoken young man. If you haven't had a chance to watch any of his videos, the young man's about to turn 17. He's already graduated from high school. Number 56 overall prospect in the composite for the 2025 season. But guys, there's a lot of talk that he may not stay there, that he may reclassify. And we're not talking about reclassifying the 2024 class. There's talk he may reclassify to the 2023 class. That would be on campus this fall. Man, that's not something we've ever pretty much heard of right there, guys. CJ, we'll start with you, man. What's your thoughts on that and what it could mean?
I think that it would, if it did happen, I don't know it will. He's basically been pretty open about how far ahead he really is in school, to the point where he's pretty well done with high school. And he's just kind of floated it out there to say, yeah, I could do this. And so we don't really know, but I mean, I think it would be, there are some positives, some negatives to it. And I think a lot of people were kind of, like, no, I don't want that. I want you to stay in the 25 class, and I want you to recruit that class, be the quarterback there. But, we didn't get a quarterback in this recruiting class. The things happened with the person.
Technically.
I mean, yeah, technically we didn't get a quarterback in this recruiting class. So if we got him here at 23, that would definitely help out and give us a full, cycle of quarterbacks and help out the room a lot from where we're at right now. Because, you've got a guy like Graham Mertz who's only got a year, is probably only going to be here a year. Jack Miller is another guy who probably won't be around here much longer. Then you have Max Brown, who doesn't have a lot of experience either. And then you've got a lot of the walk-on guys that have come around. But I think that Austin Simmons, if he does do that, I don't think it'll be a bad thing. I think it'll be a good thing for the quarterback room. And then you still got, DJ coming in at 24. And then the 2025 class still has more quarterbacks. So if you wanted to get a kid for 2025, like A.J. Hill in Houston County, or somebody just name dropping him, somebody like that, you could still go out there and do that. And the way we prioritize our quarterbacks, I feel like that's very possible that we could still pull one of those names.
Absolutely. Wes, what are your thoughts on this, man? It's a wild situation, one that we've never actually probably seen.
Yeah, jumping two classes, but to put things in context, I know people have a lot of questions about that. As CJ alluded to, or you or CJ, I forgot which one you guys said it. He will be turning 17 shortly this summer, so he's technically a month behind DJ Lagway as far as age is concerned. So
he was held back in the 8th grade, just for info out there.
And he's a big kid, so he's not some scrawny kid that if he comes to the 23 class that needs to put on weight, maybe he needs to get physically in the weight room, of course, coming from high school, all that is sure. But as a quarterback, how much do you really need to, quarterbacks don't really lift weights unless your name is Will Levis. But anyway, this kid is a mature kid. He's very smart, as we really talked about. I think he already has 15 credits as far as school is concerned for college. So that means the kid is disciplined. He's putting the time in and the work in education. So the transition mentally, I don't think will be as hard as maybe the game speed. That's always an adjustment, especially SEC speed. That may be the only concern. But nobody's saying he's coming here to start day one. To me, it only helped him being exposed to the program and actually learn faster, being in the program, seeing the practices, being able to practice. That is the plus side of all the other things, because I feel like mentally the sky's the ceiling. He's talking about getting PhDs and stuff and all this stuff once he get to college. So very, very smart kid, very articulate. Would love to have him in now, kind of separate him and DJ Lagway. Either or, I just wouldn't want him in the 24 class, but if he can come in the 23 class and stay in 24, which I don't think he will stay in the 25 class. If he's talking about going to 23, then he's definitely probably going to jump to 24 if he doesn't do 23. So, but I would love to have him in and get him in the program this year and start working.
Yeah, a couple other factors here. One, like you said, very smart kid. We're talking about PhDs. I believe it's on record. He said he has a 5.34 GPA, which is ridiculous. I don't even understand the maths behind that math. He explained it. I'm still lost. Been a long time since them days. So obviously he knows Florida is a great school for him to come to further his education. So I'm sure that played a huge role. And also a little, bonus to the young man. He's a phenomenal up-and-coming baseball pitcher. Believe his fastball is already clocked out right now in the low 90s. I believe, CJ, you said 93.
Yeah, 93
was his last clocked fastball. Left-handed pitchers are a premium, man. And what was it? Just 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, he got an offer from Sully to play for the baseball team as well. So you're talking about a kid who could come in next year. Maybe he doesn't see any snaps on the football field, but he might get some action on the diamond instead. I mean, one way or another, it looks like this young man might be contributing to the Florida Gators sooner than later. And I'm sure that ability to probably come in and play for such a great baseball team as we know we have year in and year out is playing a little bit of a factor as well. Whereas I know DJ's talked about playing baseball. I don't personally think DJ will end up playing baseball at Florida. I know he said he will, But I know family members have told other people like Dave Waters, for Gators Breakdown, that they don't personally think that he'll end up doing that. Whereas this kid, I absolutely, if he's on campus next year or this year, excuse me, I could see him, possibly playing for the baseball team next year. It's a good problem to have. I mean, I think we can all agree with that. It's not going to hurt anybody. DJ Lagway knows that this kid was committing. He was here with him on his last visit. When Jeremiah Smith was on campus, DJ was here. Austin Simmons was here that day as well. I'm sure they all talked. There was no secrets in this. Coach Napier doesn't operate that way. They've been very honest. Everything pretty much that we plan to do, they're running by DJ because, the guy's our primary recruiter out there, always talking to kids. So there's no bad blood. There's no bad, well, y'all are taking this kid. This is supposed to be my spot. A quarterback like DJ Lagway doesn't fear Austin Simmons or anybody else in the country. So that's not going to be a factor. You bring the kid in, you see what he's got. If he mentally can digest the playbook, obviously, like I said, it's a little bit of a different factor to get on the field physically. He's 247, has him at 6'2.5", 180. Some people say he's 6'4", probably split the difference, somewhere in the middle. But he's a big kid. If you've seen pictures of him, he looks very, very big for being a kid that's, coming up 2 classes.
Yeah.
He's put together pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, and he's a lefty, man. I just love it. I love it. Our last lefty quarterback worked out fairly decent. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody can be that guy. We understand that, but man, it's exciting I like left-handed quarterbacks myself. I'm a Falcons fan, Mike Vick, all that good stuff. Tebow with the Gators. So, guys, of course, if you're a quarterback coming to University of Florida, you want to think about, hey, man, who am I going to be throwing the ball to? And the Gators are just bringing in wide receivers about as fast as you can blink, man. The wide receiver talk it's like a different guy every day right now. A couple of hot names this week. One, Blake Alderman from 247 dropped the old crystal ball for Mario Craver out of Alabama. If you never heard of Mario Craver, he's number 239 overall prospect in the country, but kind of a small guy, 5'9", 160 pounds, maybe on a good day. But this is not a kid that's just under the radar. I mean, this kid's got offers from Bama. He's got offers from Auburn, Tennessee. So plenty of competition for this kid, but I don't know, man. Maybe the coaching staff sees this, guys, as a answer to our return game, long unsolved problem. What y'all think about a receiver of that size? Wes?
I'm all for it. I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but last short guy we had was Kadarius Toney, and we saw how that played out. From was he from the same state as well?
Mobile. He's from Mobile.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying. So I like that. I like shifty guys, especially in the slot, that can do things after the catch. You get them the ball in space. Hey, Napier loves to run a lot of screens. This may be something that wide receiver screen to this type of kid that can make something happen after the catch. He's the number 35 receiver in the country, so there's no slight just because he's the third. You think of the number 35, but that means just 34 of the receivers better than him. But when you think about all the receivers that go to different colleges in the country, that's pretty good. So he's in the top 300, top 250 if you want to be more precise. So I wouldn't mind having that type of guy, especially like you said in the return game, jet sweep type of guy, things you can do with those type of weapons. So and he could be vastly underrated. When you that short, you don't get the bump.
you take a bump when you're not a certain height for sure.
So so that's not saying that he's not even a good receiver to be that size and actually be in the top 240 as far as a recruit speaks to how good and talented he really is. So I'm all for it, getting those type of speed guys, because we've seen this big slow type of guys that we have, and we haven't had a lot of game breakers here at Florida in a while. So I like game breakers.
CJ?
I don't really put too much stock into like how tall a receiver is. I think you when you look at a receiver, you've got usually 3 to 4 of those guys on the field at the same time. So if you can have, those guys all be kind of different and have different, sets of what they can do, it really helps out anyway. A guy like him, you end up with guys like Danny Amendola or a guy like Julian Edelman or a guy like Tavon Austin, and just kind of get lost in the slot. Those guys, they're short. It's harder for some of those bigger guys to kind of find you. You get lost and you can get open easier. And especially with the kind of speed the guys apparently got. I don't really, put too much stock into a guy being short. I mean, it is what it is to me. Can you ball? Can you play? To me, that's it. I think that in the end of the day, I don't really care about, how you look in, combine pajamas, as Dan Campbell says. I want to see your gameplay. I want to see how you look on the field. So, I mean, some of the greatest players of all time, they've all come in different shapes and different sizes. So I'm not worried about his size at all.
Yeah, and one last point to Hirsch's part about the offers. I mean, you have Alabama, you have Hugh Freeze in Auburn, who's offered them. Us, Tennessee, and Arkansas. That's 5 SEC schools that's offering this kid. So he is SEC ready.
Right.
You don't take much stock in size. Dan Mullen is offended by your comment.
I don't need every receiver we get to be 6'7", 200
to be a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, we got tight ends, we got tall receivers, we've got them. Let's get these guys into the speed.
Man's trying to clone Kyle Pitts every chance he got. Next, man, a guy that visited yesterday, and this guy's got to be in the lead. I mean, for my favorite name of the year, besides the quarterback about to go to Ohio State, Aaron Nolan. I love that quarterback, that name for a quarterback. But, man, this name for a receiver, Nitro Tuggle.
He's not going to Miami?
No, sorry, Miami. I guess the sub $1 shares aren't paying out like they did. You know what I'm saying? The life wallet is a little dusty this cycle so far. Nitro Tuggle, man. What a name for a wide receiver. You kidding me right now?
So there was Speedy Noyle.
Nitro Tuggle visited us yesterday out of the state of Indiana. Not usually a state you see us go recruiting receivers from, but, man, this staff's all over the place. Now, you talk about size. 6'3", 190 on this kid, but supposed to be, like his name would allude to, pretty quick. So he's only number 457 in the composite, but once again, go check out that offer list. Creeping up on offers. Auburn, Miami, and 2-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs have offered this kid. So, I mean, pretty popular guy, but there's some real good feelings around the program right now about where the Gators stand with Nitro Tuggle. That's all I've heard recently. I think this is a kid they jumped on real quick and really liked his film, and we're like, nah, we need to get this kid down here before he blows up. So, like I said, man, there's looks like we're going to take 3 to 4 wide receivers this cycle. Always know Jeremiah Smith is a +1 to whoever we added this class, guys. If we sign 4 wide receivers and Jeremiah Smith calls on National Signing Day, he's got a spot. That's one of those guys, you don't worry about that. You figure it out.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a race for some of these guys to decide who wants to be in this class and who doesn't, because I think once the first guy pops, that you might see a couple other follow real quick behind it to save their spot. Real encouraging stuff out of the wide receiver room ever since Billy G got hired, and you've seen the offers just flying out and kids just visiting every other day. Is just like you've seen all these wide receivers visit. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who all they wind up this class with. Moving on to a visit we had over the weekend, and this one was a very interesting visit. Linebacker Christopher Jones out of Virginia. Christopher Jones is 6'2", 220 linebacker, number 143 overall player in the composite. And man, there's been a lot of good reports. He brought his whole family down. They spent the weekend in Gainesville, and at least as far as reports from Gators in the know would say that Florida Gators look like they stand in pretty good shape for this one. And so, guys, I got to ask you, does Jay Bateman actually have us? CJ?
It would appear so. It would appear that Bateman do indeed got us. Especially if you get this. If we got him to put with Graham and Hayes,
3 top 150 linebackers.
When's the last time we had that many great linebackers in one class, man? Like it's been
2000 and I don't know, 6.
I mean, it feels like it, right? You know, to get that many big name linebackers in the class.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you can flip the whole room on its head. You get those guys in.
Probably since the Alex Anzalone class.
Anzalone and those Jared Davis and those guys. Even those guys.
Yeah, that would be it.
I mean, like, come on, like that would be great. You could add these guys to be at that point would be a elder statesman, Shamar James with Jaden Robinson, and then you would add those 3 guys to it. The sky would be the limit with those guys to be that talented in the linebacker room. We hadn't seen that kind of talent linebacker room in years. That would be great.
Wes, what's your thoughts on that, man? We've spent since the creation of this show, the running joke has been, Bateman got us.
Yeah, man. We'll see what Bateman if he can close this. I think he answered. He would answer all questions. He did get Jaden Robinson last class, and he missed on a few guys. But the thing we worried about was recruiting because of that. But we saw the maturation of Amari Burney and how better he looked on the field. We saw Shamar get better as a freshman. We're hearing good things about Scooby Williams in practice now. So it wasn't the on-field thing with Bateman. Was can he bring in top talented guys? And if he can get his third back in the class, his job is done. Now he can. We were talking about Corey Raymond focusing on the season. That's all Bateman has to do. If he gets this kid in the class, athletic guy that from his film that can cover, played running back in high school as well. So he's an athletic type of linebacker that can cover. Tight ends can move in the flats. That type of backer to go with Graham I got nothing else for Bateman. Bateman's job is done for good. So I like Christopher Jones, the addition of another highly rated top linebacker to go with the 2 that we already have, and that'll be phenomenal.
I'm kind of dumbfounded, man. Maybe we motivated this man with our hashtag. I don't know what to tell you, because you saw steady linebacker improvement on the field. You're seeing steady linebacker recruiting. I can't wait for, to see what the young man we signed last year, when he gets on the field, he just looks like he's going to be a stud. Jay Bateman's, for right now, Jay Bateman's good in my book. He's solid to go. He need to get over there, and he's going to get his class wrapped up and get over there and help Rob Sale and Stapleton do some offensive line recruiting here in a minute. If he don't, if they don't hurry the hell up. Another visitor over the weekend, guys, was defensive tackle Jaden Jackson out of IMG. Of course, Gators for years, we had that IMG curse, but man, we're getting more and more kids to visit and really seem to be liking their visit. And this is another kid, man, that 6'2", 300 pounds, only ranked 528, but I think this is a kid right here that's flying deeply under the radar right now. Now he's at IMG, so he's going to get some eyes on him. There's no doubt about that. Once again, guys, sometimes you got to look past what the number is and keep scrolling. When you go to a player's profile on 247, the first thing you do, you see their picture, their name, you scroll, you see their weight, and then you see what they're ranked on the composite and all that. And you keep scrolling a little bit, you get to what really tells us a story about a kid, and that's the offer list. We're going to keep talking about this because this kid's got offers from Ohio State, Tennessee, Penn State, Miami, 32 offers in all. This ain't a kid that teams are just like, oh, he's down our list. I mean, there's a lot of schools after this young man. I'll take a defensive tackle that's 300 pounds out of IMG all day long. I mean, Will Norman was there last year. Obviously, he left and went back up north. But hey, man, we need some tackle. We need two good defensive tackles in this class. So if Jaden Jackson is that guy, man, let's wrap it up and get him on in here, because that can do nothing but help. Chaos has got a little work to do ahead of him this cycle. So we're going to get to another guy in a minute that's going to visit this weekend. Another guy that we had talked about here previously in the past is Xavier Mincy. And this week, Corey Bender put in a prediction on 3 for the Gators to land Zay Mincy. Zay Mincy, 6'3", 190. He's listed as a safety. I think the staff maybe views him more as the star or nickel, as we know him about. Kind of a guy that could maybe play a multitude of positions. Big kid, number 165 overall in the composite. It's a ringing theme out here, guys. The Gators are really zeroing in on some more elite in-state talent. Any thoughts on Zay Mincy possibly being in this class, Wes?
Yeah, I know you were talking about the wide receiver board. Somebody might pop, and then you might see some guys, let me get in before I get left out. I can see the same thing happening with this secondary as well. Pretty much we talked about last week, Corey Raymond locking up his class and not and focusing on the season. I just mentioned that earlier when I was referring to I'm about to say Boatman, Bateman, but I like this kid. I like him in the class. I'm going to trust in Corey Raymond. That's been well said and documented here on this podcast as well. Type of kid that he likes and wants to develop. And if you want to be developed, that's who you want to play up under. So I kind of like this. I like we mentioned some of his offers as well. Auburn, Arkansas, and of course Dion out there in Colorado is one of the offers that he has as well. So gotta love this type of kid. Home state. Trying to keep a lot of, I know we were going to have some kids that in Texas, and that's kind of like a DJ Lagway connection thing, but want to keep the in-state talent home. So really like this.
CJ, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like we've talked about Phil Sami, and now with Mincy. If you were able to get those guys, those are 2 of the top 10 safeties in the class. Then that would be a big deal, especially what we've talked about for the last couple of weeks about how thin the safety room is and how much we really need some help and some depth and some, really good talent in that room. Now that Corey Raymond's in charge of the entire secondary, I mean, he's really just kind of putting in the work, trying to get these kids to come on ahead, get into class. I think that the defensive back room is going to be a lot like the wide receiver room is right now. It's like, y'all need to come on and get in before, or you get left, you need to go ahead and get on before you get run over. So, these kids are definitely going to get ready to come into this class. And I like Zay Mincy. I think that would be a great addition. I think we're trending really well with him. I would definitely love to have him.
Let me, while you're on that and you're talking about kids jumping in this class, I almost forgot this, and easy to do. It's the forgotten name from recruiting past. Fred Gaskin III was back on campus this weekend as well. A guy that we talked about. Golly, we were talking about him visiting last December and things like that. And then he just kind of fell out of favor, I believe, with the former safeties coach. But it appears like we've circled the wagons back on him.
Yeah, definitely. I was a big fan of Fred Gaskin III. I was kind of disappointed when we stopped recruiting him. I like this tape. I like his footwork. The guy seems like a gamer. He's from right down the road at Vanguard. To me, if he's coming back around to it, and now that we have a different safeties coach, to get a kid that didn't even put you in his top 8 to change his mind, that would be huge to me. I feel like he probably wants to be here. Definitely, I think he wants to stay in the state. So that would be really cool to change his mind on it. But like I said, you've got these spots, and they're going to start filling up here shortly of kids already just getting into class. So if you're going to make a decision, you need to make it now.
You guys see us taking 2, Boatwright, Mincy, and
I think what you're going to see is probably 2 corners, 2 nickels, and 2 safeties. I think 6 overall in the group. We know we like the flexibility of guys that can kind of. I know Corey wants those guys that can kind of play a safety nickel, kind of wherever he needs a guy maybe to step in and know both positions. You're seeing it already with Sharif Denson playing on nickel, all that. But I think that's kind of how your breakout's going to do is like a, excuse me, a 2-2-2 in that.
Gotcha.
And hey, man, we're going to talk. I'm going to talk about this in just a second. We got one more visitor I want to discuss, and then we're going to kind of talk about the next week or so and what we're expecting. Came out today a story about a visitor that we're going to be getting Friday. Texas A&M commit Dylan Evans, is visiting on Friday, 6'4", 260 at Longview, Texas. Number 155 overall guy in the composite, a great defensive end prospect. Like I mentioned, committed to Texas A&M, but I want to give a big shout out to somebody. We talk about the connection that DJ has with Texas. Guys, we can't even not talk about the effect that Coach Joe Hamilton has had on recruiting for this team. A lot of people would say, I know, shout out to Heisman out there, big time Gator. He'll tell you right now, DJ Lagway would not be in this class if it wasn't for Joe Hamilton and the work that man's put in. This guy is an unsung hero that has really got us deep into recruiting in the state of Texas. So, great defensive end product. Hopefully, maybe we can convince him that maybe, hey, you may want to get out of Texas, man. Maybe that ain't the place for you. Because we need some defensive ends in this class. I mean, if you look up and down, last year there were all kinds of guys we were looking at defensive end. This year, it's the in-state talent at tackle and defensive end in the state of Florida is kind of void in comparison to last year.
Yeah, exactly. That was
whereas you look at Texas, you got this guy, you got Colin Simmons. I mean, a ton, just a lot of good recruits. So it looks as though if we're going to get these defensive end products, we're going to have to go fishing for them somewhere else, unless you just take a prospect, or a project guy, which, I mean, maybe you have the luxury of doing a little bit. You've kind of secured, your defensive end position's not in terrible shape, but you would much rather grab you a stud and stack them in there and get the best guy, possible on the field. Because, Powell and Princely don't have much longer here. And then, you start looking at Boone. You've got Boone. And the rest are kind of unknown. So, guys, this next week, man, I'm thinking, we're about 1 week out from the spring game. When y'all will be listening to this podcast tomorrow, be 1 week away from the spring game. And I really got a feeling that we could be having a show next week where we're talking about quite a few kids might be on the verge of popping. You got a great visitor list coming together, which we'll break down on the next show. We'll know for sure who all's coming. We know prospects like Xavier Filsamy is coming, and there's rumors of other guys that could be here as far as that goes, but DJ might be back. That's, I believe that's the word on the street. It feels like any kind of time that we have a major event in Gainesville, DJ is going to be in town for it, as well as you would want your star quarterback and / recruiter to be. CJ, I'll start with you, man. What's your general feeling about what could happen here in the next week?
I've heard a lot of good stuff. I've heard a lot of stuff of just like, we're going to have some, commits at the spring game if they can wait that long. So the kids we've definitely got some in the pocket. I don't know names. I don't know any of that, but the general vibe that goes around that people have put out there is we've got a lot of good feedback from these kids, then we've got a lot of good information coming in that we could be looking at some really big time commits coming around the spring game. And that would be great. And I've got a good vibe about it. I've got a good feeling about it. There's different names getting added every day of kids who are like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to be at the spring game. So that's really encouraging. Again, you got to see it happen. The old saying is, don't tell me about the labor, just show me the baby. So you got to see it happen. You got to see the final product here. We've got to see the end goal come to life at this point. We could talk about how great everything seems right now, but if we get there the next week and all those silent commits say silent, then you're kind of like, oh, well, that's not great. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to be okay. I think that this is going to be a big week coming up here. I think we're going to have a lot of exciting things happen that I'm excited for. So definitely just enjoy the ride right now, but just keep a positive outlook right now, because it really does seem like we have some good things that are coming our way.
Yeah, real quick, Wes, before you give your point on this, to something CJ said, look, we saw Billy have a plan for this in multiple times last year, and we saw it hit and we saw it miss to just, drive up the momentum for these events. We saw it for Friday Night Lights, and it paid off. We had multiple commitments, 4 or 5 kids committed within the span of like 2 weeks, and they were planned out. Like some of those kids committed at Friday Night Lights. Like Jaden Robinson was one I know, and they were like, no, I need you to hold off till this day. It was the same day that Baxter was announcing that he was going to Texas. Just a little strategic work there. And then we saw it happen again, like the LSU weekend. We put all the eggs into that basket and really didn't come away with much from it, except some silence, that we ended up getting nothing for. So I'm really hoping that we've reached this point, and it sounds like we have from all the info that we've gotten, that Billy Napier is at that point where he's like, no, either you're going to want to be a Gator and you're good to go public with it, or we're going to keep shopping and find somebody that is. So don't, like you said, I don't want the pains, just give me the damn baby. And that's, I think that's where Billy Napier is kind of at right now. Wes, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I expect next week to be a great podcast, a fun podcast, talking about guys who want to be Gators. I don't think Billy's doing it like you just was talking about, the silent anymore. If you want to be, I think he got burned from what I've been hearing and seeing, that he doesn't too much care for the silent thing anymore. Either you want to be a Gator, and we're the type of university that if you want to be a part of our university, we shouldn't be kept hidden type thing. So you got to love that. We are UF, and that's how we should be held, unless you're DJ Lagway and saying, I think we talked about this before too, I'm going to commit next week, coach. Okay, that's fine, but I want to wait 2 months and take these visits. Nah, that type of thing. I think,
like I said, if you're a top 20 commit, you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Anyone under that, nah, show me.
Yeah. So I do expect next week to be big time from everything that's been relayed. So we should be looking at maybe 3 commits. I would say the minimum at 2. And that's going to be exciting for the program. It could be more, but I'm saying right now minimum 2.
Yeah, best to temper expectations and be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
right. And you get all these kids together and you get them on campus and you're shooting off fireworks and they're looking at the view.
Momentum
studio.
is contagious.
You can get caught. Some kids get wrapped up in it. They just get wrapped up in it. They're like, "This is where I want to be."
And that's where the support staff comes into play, and some good food and good conversation and just enjoying and saying, I can do this. I can see myself here enjoying this type of environment. As far as when I go to college, and that's what it's all about.
And let's be honest, guys. From a fan base, opinionated, point of view, Billy needs this to be big time, because that's how he's selling it as, we're going to have the spring game on a Thursday, because it gives us a recruiting advantage. When, and the fan base is going to be like, well, I better see something come out of that, because I can't come down and go to the spring game or tailgate or, or bring my kids to the spring game. you know. So a lot of people are upset and have been, you know, when the announcement was made, we're doing it on Thursday again this year. Well, the way you quiet that is, well, okay, well, here's 2, 3, 4 commitments. It paid off pretty good. You know, that's how you tell people, okay, well, as long as it's working, I'll be cool with it. You know,
that's right.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it for recruiting this week, man. Like I said, just busy on the recruiting front. Kids coming and going. We try to keep y'all updated on our Facebook and our Twitter page at RespectOurDCN. Check it out. We try to retweet and quote tweet it. Any kids that are visiting and, you know, tweets that they put out as how they like their visit and everything. So please always make sure you're following us there on those 2 platforms. We'll keep y'all updated on all of this as news comes out. Not a lot of team news right now, guys. Kids are, you know, spring practice is going on, but there hasn't been anything really to come of it. No real, you know, earth-shattering news. Kids are just out there practicing, and that's what it is. If there is news of such, we'll talk about it. But for right now, man, I want CJ to tell us more about this baseball team that keeps knocking the ball out of the damn park every time I turn around. We've scored 5 more runs. CJ, how'd they do this week?
All right, we go into the series. We're playing Auburn. We ended up winning the series, but starts off rough on a Friday night. Brandon Sproat has a very un-Brandon Sproat game. Like, it's not – I saw a lot of panic, and I'm like, guys –
some nights you just have a bad night, man.
Just pitching's like that. Some nights a pitcher just shows up and he ain't got it. And
might have a little blister on your hand or what? Who knows?
And he might have been let go too long. You know, maybe he should have been pulled earlier. But you end up losing that game 10-1. But you know, the rest of the game was pretty solid after, you know, Sproat was pulled as far as on the mound. The bats never really came alive. You know, you get down to that deep of a hole. The way the other team pitches to you is really frustrating. Because they're really just throwing to strikes, you know, because they have such a big lead. There's no way to walk, you know, there's no real way to work yourself on base. And we didn't see any of that happen. But you come back the next night and you end up being the comeback kids to the next 2 nights where you get down and then you storm back and you beat Auburn. You end up scoring 29 runs in the next 2 games, which is insane. Guys, the bullpen has really impressed with that series. Bullpen looked much better. We really saw like the only pains we had were really from the starting pitchers, which you know they're going to be fine. You know, but to see the bullpen really start to come alive and those guys get more comfortable in their rotation, that's great. Last night we played Bethune-Cookman. We give Yoel Tejada takes the start. He gives up 3 runs in the first inning, and you know everybody starts to really kind of worry. But he settles in. We see Cleet Hartzog come in, and he does a great job. Gators end up winning 8-4. You know, again, Yoel Tejada is a kid who's really young. He comes in, he's got a lot of nerves. You know, your family's there watching you pitch. You give up those 3 runs, he eventually settles in, and that's just going to get better as you play more. I mean, that's just all there is to it. The more you're out there, the more you're in that spot, the better off you're going to be. We've really seen a lot this week from, you know, not necessarily just our usual suspects of the Langford, the Wyatt, Wyatt Langford, Jack Caglione, Josh Rivera. They all had solid weekends for sure, but a lot of the on-base stuff, a lot of the hits and the home runs, that all came from Luke Heyman, came from Tyler Shelnut. Those guys really stepped up this week. Michael Robertson continues to get on base. He's been on base in every game so far that he's played, which is insane. So, you know, you're having a great run for your lineup really starting to come together and not just have 3 guys that can really hit it. You're making sure you have 5, 6, 7 guys in that lineup that can really tear the cover off the ball. But all that to be said, we're going to Knoxville. It is officially Tennessee Hate Week. We got to go play the Hillbillies in Knoxville. They swept us last year. They beat us in the SEC championship tournament. We need to go up there and take care of business. LSU took them down. LSU's the best team in the country, so they're coming off of that licking their wounds. I really think that we can go up there and take care of business. If you could go up there to Knoxville and take that series, it'll make a big statement about where we are as a program, as where this team is right now. Because this is our first real tough team that we're going to play. It's a road game. We went to Ole Miss and played them on the road, the defending national champions, but Ole Miss is kind of in a slump this year. They haven't been what they were last year. Tennessee is again, Tennessee's not as good as they were last year, but it's still a really good team. They're still a really good team. They're really high ranked inside the top 10. So it's a big test for us to go on the road to Knoxville, play the Tennessee Volunteers. Got to come away with the series win. The Gators right now are 3-0 in their series against the SEC, 7-0 in all the series we played thus far. We haven't lost a series yet. I mean, the guys are playing great baseball. You just need to go up there and you need to take care of business. Lost in all this, too. Coach O'Sullivan gets his 650th win. 650 wins for Kevin O'Sullivan, which is a massive milestone to really test to how great a coach he is. And I've always said that Sully really needs to get mentioned more in the Urban Meyer, Steve Spurrier, Billy Donovan kind of ranks of how important he's been to the University of Florida, how great he's made us of a baseball program. The University of Florida had 10 opening day starters, more than anybody else in the MLB. We were tied with Vanderbilt. Nobody had more than us. So that's just a testament to how good this guy's recruited. He's done for us. So again, you gotta look at it like that. And that's 650 wins for Sullivan. That's a great mark. And, the Gators look to increase that win total when they go to Knoxville.
I think it's also worth noting that the Florida State Seminoles have lost 10 games in a row.
Oh yeah. I love that. I love that they trolled us for losing to Jacksonville early in the season, and then they end up losing to Jacksonville. How about Jacksonville though? They beat us, Miami, and Florida State. Man, they got the trifecta.
Man, they run this state, right?
They're state champs.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this week's show, man. Short, sweet, to the point. Lots of moving parts. Next week ought to be a good show, and guys, we are planning on doing something after the spring game as a wrap-up, kind of talk about it. We haven't quite decided how we're going to approach it yet, but more than likely we will have kind of a extra added-on episode next week where we discuss the goings-on of the spring game, both on the field and hopefully some fireworks off the field. So it's going to be a fun week, man. Y'all keep tuned in. Stuff will be coming hot and heavy on the recruiting front. So hopefully we'll have a lot of great information to share to you, and then hopefully our Gators look good in the spring game, man, and we get some good insights on what we're going to be looking into next year as far as play on the field. So with that being said, guys, as always, make sure you subscribe to the episode on our YouTube page. We really can't thank you enough for those who have subscribed, and hope that if you are on the fence, you would consider going ahead and doing so, man. It helps us a great deal. And as CJ mentioned in the intro, we've got this giveaway going for the hat that he's wearing. If you're watching on the YouTube, you see it. If you're listening to the podcast and you're like, man, I wonder what that damn hat looks like. Well, maybe you should go over to the YouTube page and check that out and subscribe while you're there. Like the video and drop us a comment, and then you're entered in to win one. That's how it works. Seems pretty simple. And as always, guys, make sure if you're just listening to podcasts, you go ahead and download each and every episode. We appreciate you a ton. CJ, you got anything to add before we jump?
We just want to thank you guys for supporting us as creators. If you want to, go to the Patreon, go to the Facebook, follow us on Twitter, leave comments, likes, anything we do that interact with the fans. Make sure you're participating in that. That helps us out a bunch. It helps us gauge fan interest. If we post something that doesn't get the normal traction that it does, it lets us know that maybe we need to try something different. It helps us get a good gauge on what we're doing as creators and what you guys want to see and want to hear from us. So just make sure that you guys are invested with us. It really helps us out. If you guys have anything to say in the comments, whether it be good, bad, whatever, just let us know. Tell us how we're doing. It really helps us out a bunch as creators to know what the feedback is and how you guys are receiving this information.
And as always, guys, before Wes takes us home, make sure on Saturday morning you check out the newest episode of Pod of the People, the show where we take your questions and get some answers to them. And we'll also be talking about our community question this week, which was, who was your favorite Gator growing up? And we'll have that out for you Saturday morning. Go to our Facebook page and you'll see the questionnaire up. And if you still got time, we'll probably be recording that episode tomorrow. If you want to go ahead and drop us a question, you can. Thank you. All right, Wes, take us home, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Hirsch. You guys covered all the bases. So I won't speak on anything you guys just said. But as they said, we really thank all of you guys for your support. Those who've already subscribed, liked, and commented, can't thank you enough. And to our veterans out there, we support you. We thank you for your service to our country. And those who are listening, who may be spouses of veterans or children, we thank you as well for your parents or your spouse's service to us, because you really truly serve as well with supporting them. So we thank all you guys for the support. We love you guys and we salute you guys. And as always, go Gators.
Go Gators, guys.
Go Gators.